We got him.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Dolphins fans? Kyle Krabs, Locked On Dolphins, Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. And the news we have been waiting for, it's here. Your newest Miami Dolphin offensive tackle, Terron Armstead, one of the best offensive tackles in the game of football, signed 5 years, $75 million, an extra $12.5 million in incentives, nearly $44 million in guaranteed money. We're going to talk about it here on Locked On Dolphins. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, Director of Scouting at theDraftNetwork.com, lifelong Miami Dolphins fan. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Dolphins your first Miami Dolphins listen of the day. And with that in mind, thank the football gods above that we do not have to endure this storyline for another day. Because I'm going to be honest, I spent some time really thinking yesterday about the possibilities if Terron Armstead was not going to sign a contract with the Dolphins. And the place that I had found myself in, as with, most times when you experience the 5 stages of grief, you kind of work through all the different emotions and thoughts and the bargaining phase and the acceptance phase. And it's, well, if the Dolphins were going to kick the tires this hard on Terron Armstead, then this team is clearly committed to upgrading this spot on the offensive line, and therefore they're going to do something. It might not be Terron Armstead, but it's going to be something. Well, it was something, and it was Terron Armstead, whose deal is signed. The details coming out, kind of trickling out. We still don't know the full details. We don't know the breakdown. We don't know what they got as far as a salary cap hit for this year, as far as what that would leave for additional flexibility for the team moving forward. But what we do know is this. The base deal is $15 million per season. That's a steal. Even if he hits his ceiling at $17.5 million per season, it's a steal. The $15 million AAV, which is, your average per season, places Terron Armstead behind the following offensive linemen: Trent Williams, David Bakhtiari, Laramie Tunsil. Those 3 are $22 million plus AAV. Ronnie Stanley, Ryan Ramczyk, Brian O'Neill, Jake Matthews, Lane Johnson, Colton Miller. Those are all 18 and above. So even if Terron Armstead's contract hits its max value of $87.5 million over the next 5 seasons, all of these players are still making more money. And of course, the concession that you make here is there's reportedly some long-term questions with Terron Armstead and concerns about his knee injury and how long of a shelf life he is going to have. But again, if we're getting 12 games at this relative cost, Taylor Moton, 17.8, more than the max value of the Terron Armstead deal. Braden Smith, right tackle, 17.5. And at the max value, that's where this contract for Terron Armstead, a 31-year-old offensive tackle, is checking in. Now, if you go to the $15 million price without the incentives, you also get Garrett Bowles, 17, Orlando Brown Jr. on the franchise tag for 16.6, Cam Robinson on the franchise tag 16.6, Taylor Lewan 16, Jordan Maitala 16, Donovan Smith 15.5. and then Terron Armstead at 15. So for all the waiting that happened, for a full week of free agency to play out, and to get a widely accepted number 1, number 2, or number 3 available free agent at the start of the process, and to have his market for a contract fall in this space, please let this serve as the healthy reminder that while the salary cap is easily manipulated, and the salary cap should never stop a player from doing any one maneuver in any one given year. The New Orleans Saints could not retain Terron Armstead at $15 million, despite already having him on the books this year for $13 million in void years because of how they manipulated the cap in the past. And they also lost one of the best safeties in football in Marcus Williams because of their salary cap situation. So yes, they manipulated the cap. They got under the cap, but at the expense of retaining several of their players, which is the polar opposite of what the Dolphins were able to do this offseason. Retained Emmanuel Ogbah, contract extension. Retained Mike Gesicki, franchise tag. And then added several key players. Terron Armstead, 5 years, $75 million. His $43.37 guaranteed at signing, however, is where you can really move the needle. This is where his contract suddenly looks a lot better relative to many of his peers. His $43.3 million in guaranteed money is only behind Ronnie Stanley, David Bakhtiari, Trent Williams, and this is practical guaranteed, Lane Johnson, Brian O'Neill, Taylor Lewan, Laramie Tunsil, Taylor Moton. Now, some of the fine print of this guaranteed money can put this Terron Armstead guarantees higher than all but 2 or 3 offensive linemen, Ronnie Stanley and David Bakhtiari. So from a guaranteed money perspective, this is where the Dolphins met Terron Armstead in the negotiations to help find the middle ground that they were all comfortable with to come together and make this deal happen. Now, of course, we still don't know all the details. It is currently 6 a.m. on Wednesday, March 23rd. We have some celebrations to be partaking in over here on Locked On Dolphins and in the Krabs household. That will come a little later today. Obviously, the news hit late last night. The days are long here. The nights are short with all of the work that we're doing for the NFL Draft over at the Draft Network. And, of course, preparations for this show on a daily basis. Your team every day. We mean it. And so I wanted to make sure I was well rested and could hit the ground running and talk about Terron Armstead and his addition and the financials and the implications for this team, which are significant. This is a huge game changer for the offensive line. Huge game changer for you if you're looking for tasty snacks in your life is Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. These things are high in protein, high in fiber, low in calories, low in sugar. They have 100% chocolate on all of their bars. Right now, you can visit Built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to save 15% off your next order. That is Built.com, promo code LOCKED15 to save 15% off your next order of the world's most delicious protein bar. Give me a long day. Need my energy here. And of course, I would digress. I'm repping the big guys. I am absolutely positively repping the big guys. Big Bobby Hunt, Give Him 6 sweatshirt from, where's it this from? It's NFLPA certified. So Breaking T is where it's from. And it's freaking sweet. So give me something Terron Armstead Breaking T so I can wear that too. Some reactions of significant people in the world of offensive linemen that I think are important. The first one being Mitchell Schwartz, former Kansas City Chiefs offensive tackle, for a long time was the best offensive tackle, the best right tackle in football. Wow. This was last night at 8 o'clock. Wow, great price for Miami. Heck of a player, and injury concerns shouldn't have driven his price down this much. Great. How about Duke Manyweather? Duke Manyweather, if you're not familiar, offensive line scouting and development, offensive line masterminds. He's one of the critical players in the O-line masterminds summit for offensive linemen, which NFL players come together every single year and kind of help talk about their craft. And his feedback on the Dolphins getting Terron Armstead is as follows. The Dolphins just got a culture changer that can do it all in pass protection and the run game, but will also bring the young guys along with him. And because of that, you win games because of Terron Armstead. That is a dynamic here. Terron Armstead, for all intents and purposes, is a massive win for the Dolphins, not just from a talent standpoint, but from you spent 6 picks in the top 100 on offensive linemen over the last 3 years, and you need some of these guys to have the light bulb come on. That's Terron Armstead. Because Terron has worked with Duke, and of course Duke is very involved with O-line masterminds, and a lot of the growth of that summit and that effort Terron Armstead has been a part of, and they've seen a great deal of young offensive linemen take tools from that weekend and apply it to their games and become better football players. Great. That guy, one of the key guys who's an NFL player of that effort, is in your building now. Big win. And I would digress to not shout Duke out for the clapback that he gave one Michael Taylor for a snarky comment about Terron's availability, which is something of significance and that we should be wary of. But Duke said, Michael said, enjoy the 6 to 8 games a year you'll get out of him. And Duke said, never mind the Pro Bowls and All-Pro, or the fact that in 2021 was the first time he didn't play double-digit games since 2016, or in 2020 he was held out 2 games for COVID and missed 1 game in 2019 with a high ankle sprain. When you put it like that, Duke, I'm super excited to see what this offensive line looks like. And by the way, this is how petty my mind works. The Dolphins paid Connor Williams approximately $7 million per season and are paying Terron Armstead right now, let's call it 15. It could be as much as 17 and a half as far as money per season to be members of the Dolphins offensive line. The player who kickstarted this revolution and evolution and rebuild of the Dolphins offensive line was one Laramie Tunsil, right? And Tunsil was traded to the Texans in 2019 when he was 25 years old and a very prominent rising star at the offensive tackle position. And the Dolphins got a king's ransom for him. And then he signed a 3-year, $66 million contract extension worth an average of $22 million with $40 million guaranteed at signing and $50 million in total guarantees. I'm not a math guy, but for the Dolphins to have worked through the last 3 years without Laramie Tunsil and dealt with the growing pains that have come with that, I guess I would ask you all, coming into 2022, would you rather have the draft selections that Laramie Tunsil bore fruit for the Dolphins, which we are still not done seeing the final dividends of? There's extra draft capital in 2023 coming the Dolphins' way that will be a big piece of that puzzle. and have Laramie Tunsil for presumably $22 million per season? Or would you rather have the picks, Connor Williams, Terron Armstead, and future picks for approximately the same amount of money? And again, the last 3 years did happen, and the offensive tackle play in Miami has been bad. But that is the cost that you have to ask yourself, because you have not been paying $22 million per season, or Houston's breakdown was $24 million in 2020, $16 million in new cash this year, $18 million in new cash this upcoming year. So you didn't pay that out, so you save that money. You have all these extra draft selections that are young talent, some of which are developing. Some look good, some don't look good, but there's still also some future capital at your disposal. Have the opportunity to sign Connor Williams and Terron Armstead now moving forward? Or would you just have rather had Laramie Tunsil and avoided some of the hardships that challenge has presented? I don't have that answer for you. You can make your own mind up. But I can tell you, when the Dolphins made the decision to trade Laramie Tunsil, it was, this is not a team that is ready to pay a young offensive tackle in his physical prime some $20-something million per season, because they're not going to be ready to maximize that investment opportunity. And the guy that they're bringing in, Terron Armstead, is 2 years older than Laramie Tunsil is. 2.5, 3 years. Laramie will be 28 by the start of the season. 2 to 3 years difference. And Terron's a better player when he's healthy. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Like, there's an opportunity here to reflect on the entire decision-making process and feel good about the path that you chose. Feel really good about the path that you chose. Now, of course, Terron Armstead needs to stay healthy. He needs to be on the field, needs to play. But you start looking at what this offensive line athletically looks like. Start thinking about the talent, the established talent that's been added on the left side of the offensive line. We still have to ask ourselves some questions about center. I continue to see some guys on the beat indicate that the center position is one that will be addressed by the Dolphins, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot of traction towards J.C. Tretter just yet. And we'll find out if J.C. Tretter is something that the Dolphins show some interest in, or if they make a draft selection there, or whatever they choose to do. Our next partner is a product that I literally use every day. Athletic Greens. This is an opportunity for you to treat your body right. And Athletic Greens, you might be asking, what do you mean by that, Kyle? What is it? With one scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food-sourced superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all of those things. So pretty much you start your day, it's the first thing you do. You take the scoop, you put it in some water, you mix it up, you down that sucker. And I will say I've started taking it for a couple weeks now. And I can certainly feel the extra liveliness when my day starts and I hit the ground running. And that's somebody who this time of year has to do some early morning recordings is a massive, massive boost for me. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you one free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NFL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NFL Network to take ownership of your overall health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. The Dolphins picking up their own insurance with the addition of Terron Armstead. So as things currently stand, your offensive line, on your left tackle, camera's left, my right, you have Terron Armstead, left guard Connor Williams, center Michael Dieter, right guard is presumably Robert Hunt, And right tackle is presumably a competition of every other player on the offensive line, most notably Austin Jackson and Liam Eichenberg. I have a feeling that other tackle spot is going to be left to be an open competition. You might see them go out and get an older offensive lineman, an older veteran, somebody who's cheap, $1-2 million, who wants to just have an opportunity to continue playing, to have some insurance in case of emergency, break glass insurance there in case things get super toxic. But you would probably think, and especially if I think you're okay from right guard over all the way across. But if the Dolphins don't feel that way, if they feel like we still need a center, and you go out and you get one, now you don't need to have 5 all-pro players on your offensive line. You just can't have the absolute liabilities. And the Dolphins last year had several. And that's why the unit in its entirety was a dumpster fire. I think you've already eliminated, with the addition of the 2 offensive linemen that you've signed, you've eliminated having multiple dumpster fires, multiple complete liabilities. Of course, the importance of right tackle can't be understated because that's the position that is going to play the blind side for Tua Tagovailoa. But there's a part of me now that kind of wants to see the Dolphins make sure they go up and get Tyler Linderbaum, the center from Iowa. The athleticism from the left side of the line, if you put Linderbaum, Connor Williams, and Terron Armstead out on the same unit, would be a sight to see for a team that is going to run a lot of wide and outside zone. We'll see if that's ultimately the path that they choose to take. And I will see you tomorrow here for another episode of Locked On Dolphins. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Tried to bring some good energy, roll through last night. As I said, keep your eyes peeled on the timeline. We got some celebrating to do. Dolphins signing Terron Armstead, locking in their offensive tackle franchise, offensive tackle for the foreseeable future. Kyle Krabs, keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins.